Hello, and welcome to Pet Relocation's second live event. My name is Katie, and I am joined today by Rebecca Klink. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi, Katie. Thanks for having me. I'm doing awesome. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. So thanks for having me.
So, before we get into that, just a little bit about yourself, Rebecca. How are you, and how long have you been with Pet Relocation, and what has your experience been like?
Yes, thank you. So that's right. So celebrating almost a decade, and when I got into this industry, I had no idea that it existed whatsoever. So it was really cool to figure out the way that we fly pets around the world and keep families together. It's a really neat industry, and there are so many cool logistical pieces that we have to solve along the way while we're bridging those global networks. So it's just amazing. I've always been an animal lover my whole life, of course, as you would
Of
expect.
course, yeah.
I have two dogs, one cat, and about 20 or so chickens. I'm very lucky that I live a little bit outside of Austin, Texas. So I have a little bit of land that I get to play with. So
I didn't realize you had that many chickens at this point. That is just a little farm. You got a little chicken farm going out there. Much like most companies right now, Pet Relocation has switched to totally remote working. So where Rebecca and I would usually be together in our downtown Austin office, we are both now remotely at home. It's all about staying flexible, pivoting, which is true at all times in the world of moving pets internationally. Yeah, so moving pets is such a unique career. How did you get into this industry?
Oh wow! So back then, almost 10 years ago, I found an ad on Craigslist for a specialist, which is very interesting. As you know, Craigslist is a really good way to get things out as we learn about puppy scams.
Yes.
So I ended up, responding to the ad and speaking with our CEO, and he invited me to come see what everything was about. And I fell in love with people and just the whole mission of the company. And from there, I just couldn't really have enough questions to answer. So that's
Oh gosh, I know that when I first started, my first few days, my head was just swimming. It's so much different than any other industry in the world, right? What most surprised you about working in the industry of moving pets internationally and domestically?
Oh yes, for sure. I think a really surprising and fascinating part is thinking about not just the way that pets travel, but also kind of the reason behind why it's so complex. And thinking about really what we're doing is we're preventing the spread of diseases around the world. And there's so many countries, like Australia, for example, that are completely rabies free. And so, of course, they're going to have a very long list of requirements that have to be met. And I mean, just figuring that out, untangling it all is amazing. And there are just so many people involved when it comes to moving pets as
Right.
well. I would say on average, I tried to do the math and count it all up, but if you think about every single person across the board that is touching a pet move in some manner, whether it's the person booking the flight or a customs officer or a baggage person that might be helping to load a pet last minute, whatever it is, there's probably about 25 or 30 people across the board just helping with one pet getting from A to B.
So many things that people just don't even think about. It's so much more complicated than I ever thought when I first started here. And lots of surprises. And speaking of surprises, each year, hundreds of people are met with the unpleasant experience that they have been scammed on the internet. They think that they're buying a pet or rescuing a pet to add to their family, when in fact, it's what we call a puppy scam or a pet scam. So, first, let's talk about what we mean when we say pet or puppy scam. In your experience, what does that usually mean?
Yes, so you're right. It's exactly what you said. A puppy scam is really simply where a scammer is listing some kind of advertisement, generally on a website or a local ad like a Craigslist post, where they are saying, here's a sale of a puppy, and they are tying it into promising of delivering that puppy through a shipping company. So that's really kind of what the scam entails.
I don't know about you, but when I first started at Pet Relocation, I was blown away by how big of a problem this is. Just like on my first day, that was one of the first things we talked about, that there are people out there scamming people that are looking for pets. In your years here, do you think we've seen an uptick or seen it kind of level out? Or what kind of trends do you think you see there?
I agree. In the past 9 years, I don't think we've ever had a year where puppy scams weren't taking a huge part of our salespeople's time and ear, people calling in to talk about their experiences with puppy scams. I think recently, absolutely, it is becoming even more volume, and certainly due to COVID and families seeing themselves at home more, they're imagining that they have time for a pet more, adding to the family, and shelters have, luckily have adopted out a lot of animals because of that, but it keeps going with the puppy scams, and if people can't maybe find what they want through their local shelter, it doesn't stop them from going to the internet and finding what they think they want on the internet, which can oftentimes be scam.
And that is so heartbreaking to me. Just people because that's such a wonderful statistic to hear about, that more people are adopting pets due to COVID-19 and their time at home. But it's just so, the other side of that's just so heartbreaking. In my 5 years here, I feel like I have seen a huge uptick, and they're getting smarter from apps and new websites and everything. It's just very upsetting that so many people get taken advantage of this. So we wanted to come together today to let you guys know how to avoid this and what signs to look for. What times a year would you say that the most puppy scams happen?
So the times of years that we have seen on our side of things at Pet Relocation, generally summertime is a really most prominent time for sure, because of course families are on holidays, the kids are at home, same kind of idea. It sounds like a great idea to raise a puppy in 3 months when everyone can give that animal a lot of love and attention. And then otherwise it would be holidays like Christmas, which is also a time where people are looking to add to their family and have the surprise and joy of giving a puppy to their kids. And so that's also a time of year where we see that as an uptick.
One thing to come out of this, like we said, is that more people are adding to their families. So this is a really good time to be cognizant. So there's 2 different types of puppy scams mainly. So why don't we differentiate between the 2 before we move into what to look out for? There's a free to a good home scam and a new puppy scam. Tell us about the free to a good home scam.
Yes, these are so sad, not only because it's a scam, but basically what you would see is similarly an ad listed on a local website or Craigslist or something, where the scammer is portraying themselves as a family member who has a dog that they can't take care of for whatever reason. And so oftentimes, not only are you, as someone who's wanting this dog, attracted to that it's a puppy, but you are also attracted to the story of why this pet can't stay at their current home. So you'll see reasons like, my spouse got cancer and we can't take care of this pet, or somebody died and it was their dog and I don't have the room for it.
Really emotional stories.
Very emotional. Really what's happening is they're wanting the person, the victim really, to put their guard down and to kind of not think as critically about the possibility of what the situation might really be like. And they're capitalizing on that factor to have that guard down, maybe have that judgment down, and just go straight for the jugular when it comes to the emotional, just the emotional heart of what's at stake.
So they'll say, this puppy's free to a good home. We just want to make sure it goes to a good home. Oh, I'm in New York. You're in Texas. That's fine. Just pay shipping.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly right. So the scammer has to make money somehow. And of course, giving away a free puppy is not going to get them money. So the way that they tie it in is exactly what you said. It's related to some sort of shipping where a third party is going to come in. And don't worry, because Delta Airlines can ship this dog to you and we have a company that can deliver the dog to you, or American Airlines, or whatever kind of prominent airline might be associated that people can recognize, and it seems very reasonable.
Right. And then that is where they get you, because then they'll be like, oh, the pet's been checked in, but now they need another $50 for customs clearance. So be very, very weary of when you're looking for a pet that's saying free to a good home that you can't go and meet in person.
If you yourself can't see this pet in person, or even virtually like what we're doing, then there should be some red flags there.
Absolutely. Okay. So the other kind of scam, so that was the free to a good home scam. And this one, the next one I feel is more commonly used, and that's the online ad or someone posing as a breeder. Speak to that. What are some telltale signs that this is not a legitimate breeder?
Okay, so I have personal experience with this because I did, in fact, buy my puppy. He's now 2 years old, but I did get him from a breeder, from a reputable breeder. And there are a lot of steps you can take to make sure that the breeder is legitimate. And namely, it's verifying that they are, in fact, a real breeder. So they're registered. This could be, AKC has a website that you can go to look up a breeder name. Also, the way that I did it with my breeder is I went to the local breed club for my area, and they will also list breeders who are reputable. This means that the breeders are doing all of these steps to be registered as a real business. They're also doing things like keeping the health and the safety of all of their pets at the forefront. They're doing testing. They have lineage of these pets. So if you can't verify this breeder that you're speaking to is legitimate, then it's probably a scam. You can do a simple Google search even, and you might see that somebody else is saying that this is a scam. There's a lot of ways to kind of verify that a breeder is legitimate.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are all excellent points. So now we know the two different types of scams. Let's now discuss like the telltale signs that somebody is scamming you. First and foremost, if the cost seems too good to be true, it probably is. Would you agree?
100%. 100%. Let's go back to one of the first things that a scammer is doing. They are usually taking some kind of designer dog breed. This is going to be one that's very popular, cute little English bulldogs or teacup poodles or Yorkshire Terriers, and they are absolutely putting a very low price on this type of pet, like $100 or $200. And absolutely, that is too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
So yes, the cost is a big piece of that. When breeders are saying it's just pay for the shipping, this is the other piece of it. Even if it's a free puppy to a good home, the reality of shipping a pet is also much more complex than a couple $100.
Exactly.
Yes, we can all imagine. Yeah.
So I think a good piece of advice would also be if it seems too good to be true, it is. If a pet seller is saying, oh, it only cost $120 to send the pet from New York to Texas. Okay, well, that seems kind of low. Call the airline. Like a Delta is one that they'll often say that they're working with. Maybe call Delta and say, hey, how much does it typically cost to send a pet through your airline? And also maybe ask, how old do pets need to be? Because we'll often have people being scammed thinking they're getting a 6-week-old puppy. Well, no airline flies a pet at 6 weeks old. So it's so important to do the research involved.
Yes, and just to add to that, you're exactly right, Katie. I think one of the best things that a person can do is ask a lot of questions back to the person they're talking with. Ask questions about more about the shipping process. Ask questions about, why is it so cheap? Ask questions about, what can you tell me about the parents of this pet? Keep asking questions and use your intuition when it comes to the answers that you're getting back. And that's a big part of this too. It's just that that gut feeling. We oftentimes
Exactly.
are hearing that from our clients, and they're saying, "I thought something was a little off
Didn't
about
seem
this."
right.
Yeah, and I'm like, "You're right. Use that. Use that. People can sense what's going on."
One of the biggest red flags that we always tell our clients or potential clients is if the seller of the pet is asking you to pay in a way that you can't protect yourself, where there's no way for the person making the payment to protect themselves, most notably Western Union and MoneyGram. Would you agree that those are very big red flags?
That's probably like the number one red flag. It absolutely, when it comes down to payment, I mean, it's very easy to use some sort of online transactional system where there's no way to kind of pull your money back. There's no way to really identify who you're sending it to. So absolutely, money orders, even that kind of thing, that's just money that you're not going to get back. Western Union not going to refund you back. You can't really stop that transaction from happening. So absolutely, that's very true.
Let's say you're feeling a little bit thinking that it might be a bit of a scam. What are some questions you can ask if you can't go see the pet in person?
Yeah, so I think some questions you can ask are certainly, a proof of life, if you will, is
Yes,
one. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. So asking the scammer to take another photo of the dog that you're trying to purchase with a recognizable item, a tennis ball, or today's date, or something that can show that they really legitimately have this pet in their physical hands. That's a really good question to ask them to do back to you.
You could even ask them to call you on Zoom, call you on FaceTime with the puppy. I think what a lot of potential pet parents don't even think to do is you could do something as simple as a reverse image search of the image that they sent you. And if it shows up as a stock photo, if you see that on other pages, that happened to a client that I was talking to the other day. They sent me the link and I showed her how to do a reverse image search, and there was pictures of that pet all over the internet. There's so many ways to protect yourself, but if you're not going into it thinking it might be a scam because you're not aware of this industry, it's also very easy to get taken advantage of as well. So another sign that it might be a scammer is they may just say, whenever the pet arrives to your destination, we're going to have a shipper called PetRelocation deliver your pet. And so we get a lot of calls saying, my pet was supposed to be delivered today. If someone was actually having a pet delivered by PetRelocation, what's the process? How would you know the difference?
That's exactly right. So a company like PetRelocation or a lot of other legitimate pet shipping companies are going to have a relationship with the person who's purchasing the puppy. In no instances are we ever working directly with a breeder to blindly ship some kind of pet to somebody who's receiving it that we've never talked to. So I think calling the company that they are saying they are using is step one. Just give that company a call, and that's how we find out about all of our people who are victims of these scams. Is they give us a call when they believe that they're waiting for their pet and PetRelocation hasn't delivered this pet to their doorstep. So I would encourage people to ask that question sooner to the person who is selling the puppy. What is the company you're going to be using to ship to me? Okay, Delta Airlines, great, give them a call. And then what's the company that will pick up the pet into my door? PetRelocation, great, give us a call. We will absolutely talk through this and can verify if this is real or not.
Absolutely. And when you're working with a reputable shipper, someone, if they've told you that the person delivering is a reputable shipper, we are going to have reached out to you well before the day that your pet is going to be delivered. And you can check to see if it's a reputable shipper on a website called IPATA. What is IPATA?
International Pet and Animal Transportation Association. This is basically a professional organization of pet shippers who have gone through extensive processes to be screened, who are legitimate with the right business licenses, who have the right training and background, and so that we can continue to uphold and protect the welfare and best interest of these pets when they are getting shipped across the world. That's right. So you can go to IPATA and verify if the shipper is legitimate.
And also on IPATA, they keep a list of scammers that have been reported to them. Do you think that could also be a great resource for anybody that thinks they might be talking to somebody that's not legit?
Yes, I feel like everything we're talking about is really about proactively kind of verifying before a purchase happens. So this is absolutely one of those steps. You can go to IPATA.org. We absolutely do have a list of people who have reported emails or websites, and IPATA verifies that these are in fact scams. And you can just do a quick cross-reference check of the person you're talking with. The email generally is how they're going to be talking with you, or the website, and plug it in and see if it comes up as a scam. That's a great one for sure.
And let's say, unfortunately, you have fallen victim to that scam. It's already done. You can't get your money back, and you realize that's happened. How important do you think it is to proactively report them to IPATA and the authorities so they don't do it to somebody else?
Yeah, so this is a great question, because when we're on the receiving end of the people who call us, who are heartbroken, when we're having to explain to them that this is not a legitimate purchase, they've been victim to a scam, they are often feeling very helpless at that point. And so one of the best things, because you're right, you really can't get your money back, you really can't do much, but one thing you can do is to try to stop the cycle. And the only way to do that is by reporting that scammer, reporting the email address or website. You can email petscams@ipata.org. You can also go to a company like fraudwatchers.org.
I believe the Better Business Bureau also has a running list as well. So it's not only about, well, being proactive for yourself is very important. It's also important to share the information so no one else falls victim to this.
100%, you have to stop the scammer cycle. And you might feel like, well, how can I, in my own experience, like take this scammer down? But what happens is at least you're breaking it out to where the scammer then, they're going to not have access to that website anymore, or that email that can get shut down on that administration end. So you're at least prolonging them where they're having to then restart their system and restart their scam process, which can in turn save people in the interim that time of being victims to scams in the meantime. So, yeah.
That was a lot of great information. We take calls from people every day that have just been completely swindled like this, that didn't even know that was something that could be happening. Is there anything else you would like to add? That was a lot of great information already.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this is a really heartbreaking thing, because truly the motivation to add a family member, a furry family member to you and your family is so important, and we want to encourage people to really adopt pets, that definitely locally if they can, wherever possible. Otherwise, just do your research, really do your research up front, and if you're not sure, have a professional look at it. Ask a friend to look at it, ask a family to look at it, but do some research proactively. That's the best way to avoid being scammed and have your money gone for good.
Well, thank you so much. That was so much great information. I hope that all of our listeners will find this helpful and hopefully never fall victim to this horrible crime.
I agree. Yes, thank you so much for having me. And it's been good. It's good to share this information, get it out for people. So.
Absolutely. And of course, if anybody ever thinks you might be falling victim to a puppy scam, even if you're not sure, even if it might actually be legit, don't hesitate to send us a message. Send us a message through our website, PetRelocation.com, or send us a message through Facebook, Instagram, whichever way you want to contact us. We can definitely confirm for you if we also think it might be a scam, or if we have any other resources for you. So thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye, Rebecca.